What's up, everybody? This is Behavior Code. I'm your host, Yogi Chris, PhD. Behavior Code is the name of the show for the base one Stoic temple that we got going on with Arash Sapar. And I have special guests today, Fernando Caro, my fellow temple mate, Demigod Cortez, my other fellow temple mate. And if Sultan makes it on, then we'll have all four of the temple mates here. And then AZD, he's running the event. So it's real exciting because we got something coming up this Friday and Saturday. Today's Tuesday. So this is the first phase one beast camp since really it's been a while. It's been half a year, and a lot of the beast camps were morphing and changing as Arash was changing. And so like I titled this show, and if you don't know who Arash is, I mean, the whole show is, you lose how powerful it is if you don't even know who like we're talking about, if you catch the recording to this. I know everybody on knows more or less who, we got people on different platforms. This man with multiple women that's just fucking cutting through the matrix. He's just like cutting through the culture, cutting through feminism, cutting through socialism, but in not kind of an uptight political way. It's cool. He's the king of cool, basically, essentially. And one of the teachings of the beast that I titled this episode was that multiple girlfriends requires multiple boyfriends. What does it mean? If you're going to have multiple girlfriends, she needs to have a relationship with someone other than who the next girlfriend is having a relationship with. You're not the same man for each girlfriend you have, for each intimate relationship you have. You're someone different to them. They don't know you the same. They haven't shared the same, let alone experiences, but stories and dialogue. You probably even sound different, talk about totally different things. You must be capable of shape-shifting and dropping the residue of the past over, whatever the fuck with resistance is. We're going to get into it. That is the method of the beast. That is the process. The product isn't a product. The product, you are the product. The product is a process. And it's not as simple as do this many burpees and sit-ups and wake up at this time. If it was, then we would just write it down and say, do some sit-ups and wake up. It's not that. So that's why but it's always me telling you guys this, if you're catching the recording on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, then subscribe, but you're always hearing me talk about this. So I brought in my first guest expert, Fernando Caro, my fellow temple mate here, brother. What can you tell us about the phase one event coming up, or what I just said, or, whatever you're inspired to say?
What's up, Chris? Thank you very much for having me on this podcast. This is Fernando motherfucking Caro. Can you hear me well?
You. I don't know if I'm muted. Maybe everybody else hears you, yeah?
I'm unmuted.
There, now I hear you. Got it.
All right, cool. Yeah, so it's been about a year now since last June when we took upon, or when we were given this process of creating a beast archetype. And, I can look just at the journey of my life and truly see that everything I've ever done in my life was always with the idea of being the best that I could possibly be, and not in a cliche way, but I can look back in times. I grew up in sports. I grew up playing basketball, football, and I remember glimpses in my mind where I had a mindset I would tap into when I played these sports. And every time I was in a sport, it was as if I had a different mindset versus my day-to-day mindset. It was another character I could tap into. And that was a game of life that I was so obsessed with, tapping into this version of me, this identity that I could express in a game that I love to play. And so when this beast process came about, it was just that again. It was finally a game that didn't require how much money I had in the bank account. It didn't measure me based on my physical abilities. What it did measure was my ability to show up every fucking day with total discipline. In this process, you're gonna measure your heart. And we've seen people after a year of being dedicated to this process, and as it continues to phase into new levels of it, we get to see, you get to be on your own process, your own religion, to see what you're really about. And I believe that every man that walks this earth wants to live life to his greatest potential, and I don't think any man sees himself any less. And so this was a game that, and I have great roommates, great friends to play this game with, and it makes it very competitive. Why? You see the next man doing well, shining, winning, receiving the accolades from amongst the tribe, well, it only pushes you to go harder and be better and achieve at higher levels in life. So I'll leave it at that for my first piece. Thanks. You're muted, brother.
Yeah, I'm muted. Demigod, are you able to speak? Because I want to ask you something if you're able. I don't know if he's finished, he's finished in workday. Okay. Well, when you are just testing, there you are. Got it. Okay. Here it is. Because you fortuitously came around the events, you came live. You were on the pulse of things for a while, but you came around live coming back from war, and you came around right when the Beast came out. Like that was the era that the Beast awakened in IMC Nation in June, July. That's when Demigod QC came around. And one of the things about the Beast was this archetype, the process, and the results it gives is the solution to our problems in life are found on the inside. The problems are resistances to life, or are resistances to the girl or the woman or whatever is going on. That beasting out somehow is like a journey, a quest to find the solution, but internally. I'm wondering if that resonates with you at all. What do you think about that?
So for me personally, like you said, I came after I got off my deployment. So one thing with me is that I had a very, had an attitude problem, right? I had an anger issue. And there's like, when you go to class about anger management, there's levels. So I was like one of the top tier levels. And one of the things that helped me is, like you said, working out. But then when we got here, we call it the beasting process, and then following that process. So when it comes to me particular, being in that zone, in that beasting zone, going through the process for like an hour and a half. For me personally, I try to max out an hour and a half. I feel like I'm going past that and I'm taking too long to get through my shit. So give myself an hour and a half to myself. So what that does is that when you're beasting out, it's releasing that energy. You're actually, putting force out there. So you should be letting all that negative energy go, or positive energy, whatever it is, just getting yourself to a center and more grounded place. And then from there on, it's just you. So it's just you. You're going through your process and you get to think about life. And when you're in that mode, you get to think about like everything. It can be crazy things. It can be like what you want to do for yourself. And for me, especially with this beach process here, once you got into that zone, it was always thinking about what's next for you and where do you want to go with things. So like more like what is the next goal for you, or what are you trying to achieve while you're doing that process? And it can even just be that, like, what are you trying to achieve while you're doing this particular rep? So if it's a push-up, what are you trying to achieve? What is the quality behind you doing it? You just focus in onto things and you just go.
Fuck yeah, man, that's so powerful. One of the piece of information that I took away from the original Beast Camp, June of last year of 2020, was that the discipline was the sword that I used to defeat the female in my life. It's my discipline, and it's my discipline around time and my discipline of will. And it's all sorts of, that, the linkage between the physicality and the physical practice and this idea, like I said, because there's stoicism is part of this, physical exercise, calisthenics, or some weight or whatever is part of this. But anybody could pick up a stoic book and they could study it while they're beasting, and they would get some good results with that. But there's something that we're tapping into here, because this is a process of discipline to create, like Demigod was just saying, who you want to be and what you want to create. This is to take control of the time 24/7 of what you do. You can't control time. You control what you do in the time. And, but I think a lot of like self-development and whatever, that's what they're all doing, is to create like what they, the template for their future, and design it and make it happen. But this is the template of cool. this is the template of being cool going forward in your future and not becoming, Fernando, what can you tell us, being in real estate? What's so interesting, because we went for a run yesterday. And what happened to me is when I stopped wrestling, I went 2 years, which for me was unheard of. I went 2 years of just like inactivity, like a little frisbee golf and video games. That was it. And drugs. But then I got out of that into yoga and then, some more exercise. I was heavily exercising before that. So I know you went from high school athletics and then you got right into real estate. I think you stopped college. You saw the futility in that. You did, 3 months of like marathon training or like running training. But then now the beasting process circled back around. What have you found about the physicality and the link to the archetype of the beast? Is it more than just working out? Like, what does it become for you? What has that? What is that?
Yeah, great question, man. And one thing I want to note is that, when you think of this beast archetype or this beast process, people often get the stigma that we're these like savages that just go out to society and cause chaos. But the reality is that this process allows you to tap into a set of core values that a lot of the members who are in this process tap into, such as courage or wisdom and integrity and discipline. All of these values become not just words, but an actual beingness. And so it makes the environment, it makes our lives, such as, let's say in real estate, a beast who's a real estate agent will ensure an IMC beast real estate agent, someone that's on this process. You can trust that this person will carry a set of values to get the job done in whatever it is they do in life. And so again, what this process has allowed me to do on a physical level, it truly has allowed me to see the longevity of this process, meaning this is a process that I'm doing for not a year, not 3 months, not 6 months. This is not like a get quick result scheme. This is not something that you just do for 75 days hard, whatever that shit is. No, this is a lifestyle, a way of being. This is something that I see myself doing for 5 years, 10 years. How far am I willing to go in this? And so when I see, my process in the physicality of it, from morphing into a yoga, really seeing my body change and make these adjustments. It's something that's allowed me to continue to remain focused. I believe many people try a fitness program and then fall off because that game loses its energy, versus the beast process, where it continues to morph into new levels, allowing you to self-discover, what's possible within your own self of creation, and no longer buying into the limitations that have once burdened you in your journey of life. And so that's my piece for that.
Right on. Very motivating. We got the next Tony Robbins coming up over here, charging me up. Yeah, that's great. A lot of people went through this beast phase 1. Some people more or less did the calisthenics. I think for me, tapping into the savage, dangerous energy where I feel threatening again to my environment on a physical level. Maybe not that I didn't feel threatening, but there's something about embodying the beingness of it that adds a quality or changes the quality of not only the communication of the individual, but maybe the intention or the tonality underneath it. It's quite amazing, right? So part of the beasting process is a philosophy, is the idea that you must be dangerous as a man to your environment, just simply to be sane as a man. That there's no adopting so many of these philosophies until you embrace your danger, your threatening qualities to your environment. And I think a lot can possibly get lost in the beast because of how much society puts into that word and the stigma of it, and just everybody's preconceptions and notions about it. So what can you tell us about what you have discovered about the differences? I'm always hearing myself give differences, but rarely do I have my guests on here. I don't know if Demigod, you're looking in the office. appreciate you carving out the time for us, really. What can you tell us about the, what you're going to share, either of you, on the phase one, and what that contributes to what you consider the beast to be? As you have learned, people should know you live with AZD. We live with AZD, the emanator of the beast archetype, as implemented by AZD. I mean, that's why I put all these other words on it, like the beast archetype, because it's his version that he's put out, and then it's our version that how we understand it, do it, and we go back to check as a reference, because the beast is measured in its outcome, which is the cool factor, which is the relationship factor, which is the seductive qualities, the charm, the warrior. It's Zapar. It's all the qualities of Zapar, but with the ethics of a Stoic. And those are my words on it. Those are nobody else's words. I just came, so I can't like quote that that's what it is, but that's to me what it seems like, because it's the alpha of the feminine energy with a Stoic ethic. Even though there's a lot more ethic in there with relationship awareness and Scientology and whatever the fuck else. But as the backbone of the process, the Stoicism brings one to sanity very quickly, easily. Scientology is like this whole encyclopedia of things, and so on. So yeah, I'll hand that over. I think I was asking, what are you going to bring? What do you see yourself bringing to your version of the beast that people should know about to this event? Whichever, demigod or Fernando, go first if you would. I'll even go first if you want to know what I'm going to bring.
Yeah, go ahead. I'd like to hear you.
Really? Well, with a longer segment, I was almost in a way looking at it being possibly a 2-hour segment. But if there were two 1-hour segments, I would give people a very simple, deep experience of some joints, just in some of the calisthenic movements, in such a way that they would need to visualize kind of the inner workings of keep it simple, but in the class and through the movement, and this is what I did as a yoga teacher, but I'm applying it to calisthenics. I would activate people's imagination into their body. And then once it's activated, because using the body to do that, because it's easy to do, it's right there. It's, basically what it looks like. Now we've accessed the imagination. So then I can transmit some of the beasting visualizations with animals, with external observers, with, different processes of the mind and imagination. I'll use just you could almost call it some like movement therapy, just to make sure people get their joints right. And in the process of using their imagination to do that, I'll show them how I visualize with what I've learned from AZD. And if I got that across, I think that would be rich for sure. Because it's the gift that keeps giving. Because once you see the key, then you just keep exploring your imagination. It's just giving people deeper portal into that, so to speak. Yeah. So what do you think about that? Did I explain that well? I think about cutting that, maybe put on Instagram.
Yeah, totally, man. I think there's no one more qualified to talk about that than yourself when it comes to this beast process. And it was something that AZD acknowledged amongst all the people in IMC Nation, all the beasts of phase 1 and phase 2, that, your physicality was the ideal body, the ideal archetype of this beast, with your yogic movement and, adding the calisthenics mass and, everybody had their beast archetype, but you were, you had a specific one that really excelled in many arenas in physicality. So, I mean, talking about that's very, very valid and enriching to anybody who gets to tune on in.
Well, fuck yeah. Yeah. And thanks. As you're talking, I think it's largely just the deep belief of that my body is going to react to whatever I think about, and using the visualization to empower myself, and because that's what I'm training for. So I'm that scrawny Dragon Ball Z fighter that just like pumps up real big all of a sudden. But of course, not all of a sudden. It would happen over 3 or 6 months. But it's surprising. But I saw that, and it reawakened that for me. So I think the imagination is very powerful. It's very powerful for healing. It's very powerful for changing oneself, their deeper beingness. I think the beasting physicality is so powerful because it literally taps. We use this language. It taps into your spine. There's different. I want to show some yelling processes. I want to show some of the deeper, depends on who shows up right now. I mean, if it's going to be more than 7 people, the more people, then, you know, the more I want to, you know, give it across. So, you know, this is an opportunity really for us guardians to extend our lines and our leverage into our communities. There ain't no single reason why the groups or the people that we have sold our services to before should not be hit up again for this, because this is it. This is who knows if it would even happen again. Next month is never promised. I think people fall into this, and I don't think I ever do. When I do, it's because I'm complaining and my complaint is distracting me. But then what brings me out of complaint mode is always a recognition of the impermanence of my blessings, or the impermanence of my fortunes.
Yeah.
Right. So the beasting routine, I admire how he has changed and transformed how I apply my mind and philosophy to molding my inner self and integrating my past, present, future to become what, like, you know, design myself for designing my life or whatever. Wow. Well, so cool. And then giving it meaning 24/7 so that, you know, the philosophy of the wheel and generating my own energy, the whole philosophy is so integrated, and it's such a cool holistic application of your attention throughout the day that it gives one a lot of ability to ascend in life. I was recognizing in Demigod the other day, I was listening, I don't know if you knew that, but I listened to his whole talk on his impromptu lecture breakdown. What does he say? Aftermath. After smash. I don't know. It's the after smash. That's when you smash after the party, you know, but the after smash. So, and I was listening because there were a couple points and I enjoyed his tonality and it was changing. And I was like, yeah, that's me going, that's me celebrating. Yeah. So, you know, the change is so real, you know. I don't know where I was going into that. For some reason, I was going into that. Anyway, do we have any? I mean, we got a bunch of people that have done phase 1. It's interesting, the people that arrive. We got some new people. What do people need to know about what you're contributing, Demigod? If you can tell us, what are you thinking you're going to be adding to this first ever phase 1 Beast Camp by the first ever certified phase 1 Beast Camp coaches? He's probably selling a car right now. There he is.
Did you hear me all right?
Yeah.
So for me personally, what I'm bringing is that my knowledge in actual physical training, which is certified through NASA, is that we have a lot of guys who are not able to actually complete the entire beach routine. There are certain things that they can't do physically because their body is not up for it. So I'm going to provide them with alternatives for them to create their own beach routine with the knowledge that I have. And like you pointed out earlier, is that when we do the beach routine, we all take away what we take away from it. It's our own experience. So AZD had his experience that he gave out to everybody. And then we had our experience. And that's something that AZD makes sure that he tries to teach everybody. And he makes sure he's like, this is what I do. And he learned this from his teacher, Manu, that yes, this is what I do, but it's time for you to see what you can do. What do you bring to that character? So AZD has his character that we all see and is very successful. And he wants to know when he puts this information out to everybody is what can you bring to this beast character? That is what he's looking for. He's looking for everyone to curate and prosper on their own. So I'm going to help out the guys who can't actually perform the beach routine so they can have their own beach routine. And the biggest thing to me, in my opinion, when it came to this routine is that it was the discipline behind it and consistency, because we went at it for about 6 months or even longer. Some of us stayed to it, and you have guys who can't even get past 3 weeks. So that's why when it came to this routine,
Mm.
another aspect of it was it to test the man's discipline and his consistency to the process. Because you're not going to get anywhere in life if you continue to give up halfway through something. So whatever your dreams are, if you don't stick to it, you just continue to fall off, you're not going to make it. So I'm going to bring that knowledge, and I'm going to try to touch on discipline from what I have learned over my years and my military background.
Well, fuck yeah. That was, applaud. That was great. That's exactly what I was talking about. You're right. So Miracle J, I see you're on, brother. If you could, I'm going to upload this episode right away. And if you could clip what Demigod said about what he's going to deliver, and even what I said I was going to deliver, if you could make it what I said, less than 60 seconds. Fernando, all the pressure on you, brother. No, seriously, I'm excited to hear, because I know you've been teaching some events. And so you've got your expression out there on another level. You've been testing the next level. It's like in Mortal Kombat where you like punch up to the next level and you're on the next level. Like, so what do you bring in this camp, do you think? What's on your mind?
Man, as you said before, I've taught the Warrior Code, which was my event, communicating and integrating all the processes that AZD has shared, even down to like, there's just so much in this phase 1 beast process that any one thing that just anybody applies to their life will change the entire paradigm of their existence. Like literally doing Om chants every morning, you do that every day, you're a completely different person. The way you sound, the way you carry yourself. And so a lot of it that I'm going to bring to this event is what was taught to us from AZD directly, and bring it back to life. Because when the minute we communicate about it, I don't want to say it right now and give it all away. If you want to fucking sign up and join, then join. But I mean, bro, the truth is that there's the process. There's the
tell me. Divulge it here. Divulge it here. Anything you can give in 60 seconds. I know you'll triple exit if in 60 minutes.
Fuck yeah. All right. So shit. Listen, you want to change your motherfucking life? Go a year ago. Go a fucking year back and look at that picture from June 1 and take a fucking look at every person in there. Take a fucking look at me. I'm not the same motherfucker. Now, if you want to be cool, if you want to tap into a level of confidence to go out to the world and demonstrate a character, but with some actual substance, things that you can now carry within you. Now you have a jar full of goods, right? Of practices, of techniques that'll allow you to thrive in life. You got some mental fucking strains in life. You got some anxieties, some fears. Well, now you have a fucking jar of techniques that you can always apply. And this process is rich with techniques. This process is rich with so much that you can always integrate to tap into that beast. Why? Because a man doesn't have a mental problem. That's bullshit. Why? Because anytime you got a mental problem, do some fucking burpees and let's see if you still have that problem. And the beast, again, was the solution to all of Fernando Caro's problems. And, as we continue to move forward and life continues to grow, expand, become much more enriching, much more fulfilling in the experiences I'm having now from a year ago, man, it doesn't even make sense to other people. But what's going on now, shit, you might be that person in a year from now that'll be like, man, Fernando, what you shared here a year later changed and made the difference in your life. So, I mean, I think all of us, as we continue to go up in this process, as we continue to elevate and ascend, we want to share the teachings and share the success and share the wins to the next men up, to the next phase 1 beast guys who are in the same path, on the same lineage of really tapping into the best fucking version of themselves and getting rid of any pussy ass, weak ass, insecure ass, fearful ass, personalities that you got inside of you, because that's not you. Fuck no. And I don't buy that shit.
Yeah, on the clubhouse, they'd all be like, woo, yeah. And they'd be like a bunch of apes, like blah, 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 blah. And, but that's what it was. That's how it should have been on the 1%ers. You should have been on the 1%ers there, Fernando. Fernando, I say it like such a white guy. I'm practicing my white language because these guys are making me more hip to the hip hop language. I'm not hip to the hip hop. I'll stick with my country and metal. Thank you. So I'm just kidding. I like all genres if it makes me bob my head. So that's real good. That's real good. So I think Miracle's gonna clip what everybody said, because that's going to be real good to express to your audiences also. This is your opportunity. I feel like the Cartman in me coming out. It's an opportunity to really succeed. Now, we have other beasts on. We have Tony Kosmiski, Miracle J, Scott Gravel, who hasn't done phase 1, but he's been around for the most recent stuff. So, but then we have Master myself also. So if anybody else would like to contribute before we end this show, now's a good time. You could just unmute, type it out if you want to. Meanwhile, of course, follow if you're catching the recording. No reason you should be at this point in the recording and not be click and follow. It's ridiculous. Keep showing up, Tony K says. Tony K also came back from deployment, and he keeps showing up. You can't stop him. You cannot stop him. He will not be denied. He's that unstoppable force. He's like the little trickle of water that's soon going to carry the whole house away. Soon take the whole mountain away. Whole continent washes into the ocean because of Tony Kosmiski. It's a force of nature right there. All right, anybody, a miracle? Nobody else got anything? Master myself. All right, Ryan, you should definitely be coming to phase 1. Scott, I think phase 1 would be life-changing for you, although you're already a beast in many ways. Maybe you'd be able to catch up in other ways, but I still think phase 1, when you get that badge and you can get the template of what to work with, there's an exact curriculum, and it's like so many things really in jiu-jitsu and wrestling and everything. The better you get, the harder you got to work for new pieces. The better you get, the harder you got to work for gains. And the more advanced you get in this game, you're coming around for less and less gold nuggets, so to speak. But the more you create your life back home where you are, or in our own worlds, we live together, but we have our own world. The more you create in your world, the more you have to live for, the more you have to lose when you drop the vibe that you're creating. You're recreating yourself, changing the frequency of every cell of your being, and shifting all your communication lines toward the frequency of the future that you want. They're in the past. And it's going to take a lot of strength and persistence. You're going to need to beast up on your life. And you're going to break yourself if you think it's just exercise and stoicism and waking up early and sleeping on the floor. That's why we so freely say those things. And so I look forward to seeing you all. If you're catching the recording to this, then it's probably past the event. And there's going to be another one next month. So come to that phase 1. So the people that come to this first phase 1, as in almost every event that I have seen in 5 to 6 years, AZD massively over delivers the first event. The first event of a new gen is what gets the most over deliverance. And this is a new gen. This is a new gen where he's collaborating and he's certifying these first phase 1 coaches. You must understand that no matter what IMC monk you train with or what IMC base you go to, ain't nobody's more certified than us. Ain't nobody going to get you closer than us. They're not even close to being close. And that's the truth. They could be close. They had the potential, just like I had the potential, but you must see that where they are now is where I was when I began this base journey. Some of them may be further along, for sure. Some of them Nico is in a certain life situation. Brian Cassell is in a certain life situation. Everybody is beast in certain areas of their life that's admirable. Nobody's here that is weak in everything. Everybody's got something that I'm like, damn, I wish I actually kind of had that. Some people got more of that going on, but everybody is so plugged into the matrix that much of their power lay dormant. And the rest of it is confused and intertwined into a bunch of just, them trying to figure it out for themselves. This is the routine and the process from the man that's at the top of the mountain, at the tip of the spear, the Red Queen effect here. Yeah, it was rhyming, kind of. All right. Thanks, everybody. Any last things? I feel like there's something bubbling up. Going once, going twice. All right. See you guys. Os.